Are they? I'm a bit fed up with this channel, to be perfectly honest. It's not like the one I used to have, which used to generate loads of comments and debates, and it's really, really interesting comments. I mean, interesting questions and interesting arguments, even between people. Lots and lots of content. Each video produced a fantastic reaction, and all those people, looking at the adverts that my content generated for YouTube management. But there we go. YouTube management, in their wisdom, took it all down. So that was that, really. And I don't get anything like the response, really, for this channel. I suppose it's a bit like my old gaffer used to say: if nobody is complaining or commenting on your videos, you must be doing something right, because people will only comment if you're doing something wrong. You know what I mean? So he used to say, if I criticize you, then I criticize you. Otherwise, you're doing a good job. And if I don't say anything about how good a job you're doing, just take it as read. Which actually is an old-fashioned kind of way of looking at things. But I think there's a lot of truth in that, really. If no one's saying anything, it must be all right. But I do get some really funny questions, like, like, I think I've done about 50 videos, and someone asked me a question: "Are you a dualist?" To which I replied in jest, well, half in jest, like, "No, I'm a nihilist." But I was thinking, actually, at one level, that's quite true, because if you think of the transcendental God and the immanent God, I mean, ultimately, like 2 equals 0, the famous formula, mystical formula, which is basically plus and minus cancel each other out. They self-annihilate. And when they self-annihilate, they produce a lot of energy, light and sound and whatever, antimatter and matter coming together. And perhaps even that's how, that's not exactly how the universe started. Apparently, there was a slight discrepancy between matter and antimatter, and what is, or positive and negative, let us say. And what we have now is the remainder of 0 equals 2 is not quite true, kind of thing. So, if I put a line down here, 2 is not equal to 0, then that gives birth to the entire universe, to the Big Bang and everything that we are now, like the whole evolutionary series of numbers spreading out in infinite directions, in all directions. So in a sense, transcendentalism and immanence come together to create nothingness, really. But I'm not going to let questions like that, "Are you a dualist?" provoke me, because, as you know, I've got quite a temper, and it's easy to provoke me into into lashing out. All my life I've had to cope with a temper, and suicidal thoughts as well, and psychopathic thoughts as well, thoughts of murdering people. So I have to keep a check on things. It's easy to provoke me. But you have to the trick is in life is to walk away from provocation like that, and people often don't even understand how they have provoked me into temper. It could be anything, really. You never know what's going to upset me. I never know what's going to upset me. Know thyself. Well, I don't know anything about myself at all. I never have. I just respond from second to second, minute to minute. And react to everything that's going on all around me, sort of in an anti-Buddhist kind of way. So there you are, you see. I was thinking last night in my despair that all we've got basically is God. We haven't got anything else. This whole, God and death, really. Life is just fake. Death is real. But also, I think death is fake. So you go on to somewhere else after your body has died anyway. Consciousness survives death, or perhaps it doesn't survive death, and in which case it doesn't really matter what on earth is. In which case, nihilism is in fact the correct answer to "Are you a dualist?" But of course, you're a dualist because there's a transcendental God on one side, and then there's the God of this world, the God of immanence, on the other, and they are mutually opposing forces. Well, not opposing forces because one transcends the other. So within the demiurge, of course, there are opposing forces. All right. There's the good side of the god and the bad side of the god, and the black and the white, and they are at opposing forces. They are at each other's throats all the time. But the transcendental God transcends all of that. But also, of course, the problem is that from our point of view, transcendentalism and immanence also set up a duality of their own. Do you see what I mean? So, and there's a sort of string cluster being played at the background. I'm trying to create this sound font, huge sound font rig of all free sound fonts that you can get. Some really amazing stuff out there. Somebody's taken years to collect every single sound font that is a sample of every instrument ever created, and they put it in one massive great pack. And I'm having to go through it all. It's taking me weeks and weeks and weeks, because a lot of duplication as well. Anyway, I digress. But the thing is that am I a dualist? Well, of course, there's a dualism aspect there. But also, I think I lose my temper because I misunderstand what people are saying because I'm not a very intelligent person, and therefore I usually get the wrong end of the stick when people say things to me because I don't really understand what they've just said or asked even. I don't understand the question. But of course, if there's a transcendental God, and then there's the demiurge, and within the demiurge you've got lots of demigods, of course, hanging about the place, and lots of entities of all different kinds, good, bad, and indifferent. Sulfuric ones, mercurial ones, and saline ones, they're all in a dance together of energy, really. No one knows anything about the energy of the transcendental God, if indeed energy can be said of it. All these words that we use, energy, are just bandied about. We have no idea what they mean as far as the transcendental God is concerned. In fact, people bandy the words energy around. They don't even know what they mean in terms of physics either, for that matter. They mean it in a metaphorical sort of sense, I think. People talk about bad energy and bad vibes. They don't really know what they're talking about because, it's these things are used in physics in a very specific way. And people bandy them around in a metaphorical way. But they get it all muddled up with physics and quantum theory, and they have no idea what they're talking about at all, really. Which is, well, sometimes it's good to not know what you're talking about and just talk a load of incoherent, rambling nonsense because, it's like the 100 monkeys, Sometimes people can get a sort of jewel out of your ramblings. But I'm not going to do too much rambling on this channel because I think that sometimes the ramblings can take a very dark turn. And that's when Google management starts to step in and start saying, well, this isn't, we don't allow this on our network, because you have to bear in mind that this is a private virtual space. All right, this isn't public space. In fact, when you think about it, the internet really is not a public arena. It's a set of private virtual spaces, which is ultimately governed by the private companies that set up the internet in the first place. And I suppose unless you're really, really going into the deep web and peer-to-peer communication through one computer to another, which is what the internet was essentially at the beginning, unless that still exists in some form or another I don't know about. Pretty much everything is a shopping mall, but it's a private shopping mall, and they can ask you to leave for any reason under the sun. They don't even have to give you a reason; they can just chuck you out. They have community rules, but they don't really mean anything because you could take them to court and argue about community rules and the fact you hadn't actually violated any community rules at all. They just decided you had. But there's no recourse. There's no coming back from their decision. Because it's a private person or private persons, and whatever they believe in at the time is what goes. So that's why, you see, when you talk about corporations, you have to be very well, hope that the people running the corporations are broad-minded, because otherwise, if they were pretty conservative, you wouldn't have any free speech at all if we're going to privatize virtual space to this extent. And so so we don't really have freedom of speech in the USA or in Europe, actually. Not in the virtual world. Even people talk about the word Discord, but Discord, like even they are not going to allow certain communities to spring up. You know what I mean? And I'm not just talking about criminal communities such as pedophiles. Granted, if I had a network, I wouldn't really even care about them, actually, because it's your choice. You don't have to go to these badlands. If you're going there, it's because you want to go there, not because they exist. If nobody went to these badlands, they would cease to exist, but you want to go. So there must be something in you that is attracted to the bad sectors of the internet. Otherwise, why would you be there? People used to comment on my videos, but I used to say to them, well, why are you here? There must be something about me that really, really attracts you. Mad, bad, and dangerous to know, as I said about Byron. There must be something that you can see about me that you rather like, even though you're complaining like mad and no doubt flagging my videos on the other hand, and you don't like my poetry. You think it's inciting, and you think it's barbaric, and you think it's cave-like and troglodyte, and and you don't like the offensive and everything like that. But I used to say, well, but obviously this isn't New York. I get the feeling in New York anything goes, just like in LA anything goes, But YouTube, Google management are not New York. They are not LA. They don't really, really believe in freedom of speech, and not really. They pay lip service to it because they want your free content, basically, for their advertising. But because they have so much content, obviously, they don't really care. They wouldn't really care if YouTube was completely just full of games videos, because 70% of people watching video are young men between 15 and 25, I think. So basically, they fill the whole virtual space with Let's Play videos and wouldn't care. Do you know what I mean? And now they've got, of course, this legislation pressing down on them about being child friendly, which is the piece of legislation which, like all pieces of legislation, is absolutely absurd and doesn't mean a damn thing. But don't get me on that subject. And as a libertarian, I will say to you that most legislation governing people's behaviour doesn't work. And if you allow people just to be free and do whatever they like, water finds its own level. That's definitely what I think. And that's why I will never censor comments. I will never ban people from my channel. You can literally say anything that you want to say on this channel, literally anything. And I don't care, and I don't mind, because it's you. I like you, and you want to express yourself. And if you want to get mad with me and you want to ask me dumb questions or even sensible questions, or and be a genre provocateur, I don't mind. It's okay. Relax, chill. But there you are. That's my supplemental Gnostic Vlog for today. And since I was born at 11 o'clock at night, I really am 59 years old today, really. Whereas yesterday I wasn't quite 59, but now I am. I can jolly well come out of the stocks fighting. Do you know what I mean?